my book is called Nothing to Fear, which I do believe, and I don't have much fear around death. They at least understand that this is the time, this is the moment. There's nothing they can do about it. So, let's be together. Let's talk about it. Let's laugh. When you do that, you usually live better because you're not dead yet. Right? You're not dead yet. So you live better and you die better. You do die more peacefully, usually. We are nurses. We are always needed. That's the thing is I'm so freaking grateful again for my dad because initially I wasn't sold on being a nurse, but then once I got into it, I was like, oh, this is amazing. But I didn't get into it for the right reasons. I was just sort of I don't know what I'm doing, And I'm so grateful because I just feel like we will always be needed. Recession, no recession, people need nurses, right? So you can always go back to the thing you were doing.
Welcome back, everybody, to Club Nurse. I am so excited for this conversation today. I've actually had the pleasure of speaking with Julie before, also known as Hospice Nurse Julie on social media. She has massive YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. That's where she posts a lot of her content. Definitely check her out if you haven't. It's at Hospice Nurse Julie everywhere. So yeah, like I said, I've talked to Julie before. I'm so excited to have you back and to kind of dive into more of what you do. But if you want to just introduce yourself and kind of give us an idea of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to talk to you. So hi everyone. My name is Julie McFadden, um, or also known as Hospice Nurse Julie online. I've been a nurse for 16 years, and the first half of my career, I was an ICU nurse. Um, jumped around doing that from different hospitals. I did travel nursing. I did a bunch of different things, but mostly in the ICU. And then I switched to being a hospice nurse because of my experience in the ICU. And then a few years into hospice nursing, I eventually developed, Hospice Nurse Julie online, where I educate about death and dying. And that's been for about 4 years. And, that whole thing, the whole Hospice Nurse Julie thing kind of took on a on a mind of its own. So now I do that and I still work as a hospice nurse, just not full time.
Okay. So I'm curious, at what point in this journey, being a hospice nurse, did you realize I need to start documenting what's happening? I need to start making note of or taking note of this, and then sharing this with the world to see. What sparked you to do that?
It's a great question. I think I was probably 4 or 5 years into being a hospice nurse, and 2 of my very close friends, right in a row, were both their parents went on hospice, and I would talk with them and educate them and, just say kind of like the spiel I say to, all of my families and my patients, and they were, my very close friends, and their reaction to me talking about it was, surprise and, "What the heck? I didn't how can we be friends and I didn't know, this was your life and that you
Yeah.
knew this stuff, and how come no one's talking about this stuff? You need to talk about this more." And I was so surprised that they didn't know the things I was saying, and I
Yeah.
was so surprised that they, didn't know that I knew the things I was saying. It's so funny because 'cause I'm sure you are like this too. I don't talk about nursing in my everyday life to my friends,
Right.
really. I
Right.
kept it very separate. Plus, I'm a hospice nurse, so people, at dinner parties, people didn't wanna be like, "Tell me about your work," you know?
Yeah.
Everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Yikes, I don't wanna
Yeah.
talk about this."
Right.
So, they're the ones that kind of sparked me into, "You should talk about this." And initially, because I think I was probably, 39 when this was happening. Initially, I'm in the age of, we start a podcast, right? Never in my wildest dreams was I like, "Oh, I'm gonna start a TikTok," which is
Yeah.
where this all started.
Yeah.
So, I was gonna do a podcast, and like we were talking about earlier, then I realized, how hard that was and how, I didn't know how to edit or do anything, so I was like, "Ugh, I'm not gonna do this."
Yeah.
And then I went home to see my nieces who are, of TikTok age, or so I thought. This was 2022. So TikTok had been out for only a couple years or whatever. Um, and I got on TikTok because of them. They were
Yeah.
doing dances and I was doing dances with them. And I was basically on it just so I could watch them do stuff. And then of course you get addicted to TikTok 'cause it's so easy to keep
Of
watching it.
course. It's the whole
And
point
I
of it.
know, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw people my age, educating about space and, talking about gardening and cooking and, whatever. And I thought, "Well, I'm gonna do this." And I only had 5 videos in mind, didn't do any kind of, preparation, literally just sat on my bed, bad lighting at night and, talked into the camera, like 5 different videos, posted them randomly, and, like, the 4th one in, or the 4th day in, something like that, um, one went viral, and then it kind of, like, took a mind of its own. It was, like, 10,000 followers overnight, 100,000 followers in a month, 1,000,000 in a year, and that's why I say it took on a life of its own, because
Yeah.
I didn't really try. I really
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't have like, a vision. I didn't have, like,
Right.
an idea of what I was really going to do,
Yeah.
and
It
here
just
I am.
yeah, you just kinda posted without expectations, and it just kind of naturally took off, like you said, had a
Totally.
mind of its own.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, how has this work shifted your own views on death and living? Like, through this work that you've been doing, how has it, and if so, how has it changed your perspective on that?
I think the more I'm involved with hospice, the more it is about living versus dying. When initially I think it was more about, like, dying,
Mhm.
and me being fascinated and surprised by how, for lack of a better word, how cool it was, like, how cool our body is, and I was so surprised coming from the ICU setting where we're trying to keep people alive,
Yeah.
seeing how not doing much at the end of life can really help someone die really peacefully, and how our body has all these built-in mechanisms to help us die. So initially for me, I was, like, learning all of these things about the natural way our body dies, and it was, like, mind-blowing and fascinating, and, like, really took away a lot of the fear I had around death. Because, like, whatever, like, no matter what happens after we die, the part about, like, how we die and what happens when we die, especially if you're on hospice, that part was so reassuring, because I saw time and time again how our body really helped us do it. And then the more I've now that I'm kind of, like, quote, unquote, "used to that," right? It turned
Yeah.
into, like, hearing the same things over and over again from patients that made me be like, "Oh my god, they're so right. Like, you can't take your health for granted." Like, I wanna appreciate that I'm alive and well and can, like, drink my coffee and, like, smell the coffee and see the sun and walk, and
Yeah.
these little things that, like, you take for granted. My patients really have helped me, like, shift my mindset to, like, reflecting on death can really help me live. And I really do, like, I really practice what I preach,
Yeah,
you know?
take those little moments and, like, take in those things that we would classify as, like, so small,
Yeah.
like that like, I've heard you talk about just, like, enjoying, like, that cup of coffee in the morning, like, yes, it may seem so small, but I think when you zoom out and you put yourself at the end of your life, like, that really is a big thing, like, that's a big deal to be able to just, like, sit down in the morning with whatever view you have and, like, enjoy a cup of coffee, like, that's huge to someone, that's everything, and then but for us, in the daily grind of our life, like, we're just, like, we forget that, and then we're so quick to just be, like, running out the door, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna grab the coffee on the go," and I don't even remember tasting it because I just wanted it for the caffeine, like, and so I think,
Yes.
like, what you're saying, I can imagine even just through, like, the nursing I've done, it's that perspective of, and the daily reminder of, I need to slow down, and I need to really whatever that is for you, coffee is just something that's coming to my mind because 'cause I've heard you talk about it, and I also love coffee,
Me too,
but
I'm
just yeah, but just, like, sitting there, like, actually enjoying that and not just, like, rushing through life and trying to, because like, I feel like we all have this, like, we're running trying to get to, like, this destination, and it's like, where are we going, Like, it's like, we're
I know, I
here. Yeah.
mean, we hear it over and over again, right? Like, it's not it's the journey, not the destination, or
Right.
whatever the I'm kinda butchering that, but something like that, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
think, yeah, like, how do we shift? It's easy to say it, right? But how do you
yeah,
actually shift into that mindset where you are more focused on gratitude and, like, the little things? And for me, that has been the practice. It's a practice, and being a hospice nurse and being around death and being around dying people and really fully understanding that that will be me someday, has helped me be able to shift into that mindset more easy, like, more frequently and a little easier. Because
yeah,
we can talk all day about, like, you need to live in gratitude.
yeah,
Everyone says that, right?
yeah,
But it's like,
yeah,
okay, well, how do you
yeah,
do that?
yeah,
And to me, it's not morbid to reflect on the fact that I'm gonna die. Like, I
yeah,
really have that knowing deep
yeah,
in me. There's
yeah,
no denial there. And if I get lucky enough, I think it's lucky if I get to die on hospice, not
mhm,
be hit by a car or in some
right,
freak accident or something.
right,
um, then like having that knowing really helps me live in gratitude some of the time. I mean, I'm still human, right? But
Yeah.
like I get back to that awareness easier because of my job.
Yeah, 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 kinda like what you're saying, like, what a privilege it is for somebody to and, like, a weird, I don't know, almost way to twist and look at this, like, what a privilege it is to be on hospice and be able to, like, be oriented enough to reflect on your life versus, like, what you're saying, like, tragically dying in, like, a car accident or something,
Yes.
to even just be able to have that time to feel your loved ones and have that time to look back on your life and think of all the amazing things that you've got to experience in this physical world. It's a great kind of way to look at it versus hospice being like this depressing, terrible, like death wish. Like it's like, no, you're actually almost just like granted this time to just like reflect on your entire life. And you've probably
Yeah.
seen that a ton of people that just like are sitting there and just reflecting on what they've been through.
Yes, and I think I've seen that and I've seen the opposite of that, which has helped me be like,
Yeah.
that's one of the main drivers when I first started was like people need to know the importance of educating and learning about death and dying on a biological level, right? And then on a just on a life level, because I've seen the difference it can make. The people who are unwilling to and I get it, I relate. I mean, I understand why, but, like, people who are unwilling to talk about it, to relate, to accept it, to even when they're on that journey, like, it's just so much harder for them and their families versus the families who are willing to maybe not necessarily go, "Oh, this is a gift," every
Yeah.
day. "This is a gift," but, like, they at least understand that this is the time, this is the moment, there's nothing they can do about it, so, like, let's be
Yeah.
together, let's talk about it, let's laugh, let's
Right.
reflect. When you do that, you usually live better because you're not dead yet,
Yeah.
right? You're not dead yet, so you live
Yeah.
better and you die better. You do die more peacefully, usually.
Yeah, you really have probably seen, like, the whole spectrum of people who have gotten to, like, the end of their life and can look back with peace and just gratitude for their life than the people that have gotten there who look back and just that's gotta be so painful to see somebody, like, in
Yes.
such regret that their life was not what they wanted it to be. Like, that has to be one of the most painful things to witness because there's nothing you can do at that point, right? You can't go back, versus somebody who can truly just reflect and just be grateful for the life and the love that they've experienced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like it can be like the most beautiful. That's why my job is really very, very beautiful. There are times when it's sad, but for the most part, it is really beautiful. Even if everything's not perfect, because no, because obviously people yeah, people aren't perfect, right?
Right.
But, like, even catching glimpses of, like, the love between 2 people
Yeah.
or, like, loved ones sitting with their loved one who's dying, even though it's, like, wildly uncomfortable for them to sit there, and it's so
Yeah.
painful for them to be there because it's so sad, but
Yeah.
they, like, choose to be there anyway because they love this person so much. That is enough to make me, like, weep, cry
Yeah.
every time I see it. I don't not 'cause it's, like, not about me, right? But when I go to
Yeah.
my car, those are the videos I make when I go to my car and just go,
Yeah.
"Life is so beautiful." Like, this is
Yeah.
so sad, but it's also so freaking beautiful to
Yeah.
witness stuff like that.
And you need it's I think I one thing I love about your platform and what you do is even, like, you being in a position that you're in, you still need those constant reminders, right? It's like we learn all these things, we have all these perspectives on life, and then we go to sleep and wake up and we're in a pissed off mood for whatever reason. And it's we need those daily reminders. We need those things to happen to be like, right, I have to remember like this is, my one life or whatever. And so for you to then share that with people to because not everybody gets that privilege to see somebody on hospice and you're seeing that in your job and so for then you to go
Mm,
out there and share it so people can kind of you're welcoming them into that world that they would otherwise not see is super important because you put out so much educational so many educational videos and just real life experiences that sometimes can't be explained by science or why is this happening. I know you've gone into a lot about visioning and the deathbed phenomenon and all that stuff. And I would encourage people to go watch a lot of your other interviews that you've done because you go into great detail with those. But is there anything Is there anything in that now, looking back after you've written, your book, Nothing to Fear, is there anything now that you would have added into the book that you didn't, or
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, the book really like the chapter 6 in that book is all about the medical phenomena that happens at the end of life. So, and it's the longest chapter because there's so much stuff
Yeah.
that does happen, which was surprising as an ICU nurse, right? Like I am like all fact based,
Yeah.
right? So it was a
Science.
big shift
Yeah.
for me to be like, what's going on here? And even witnessing it for the first time, when I say it, I mean, like, any of the phenomena, the visioning, the death stare, the death reach, people talking to dead loved ones, like, that stuff, when you first witness it, it's like it's so surprising, and then after a while, it becomes second place because it happens all the time, which is wild.
Yeah.
Anything I would add, though?
I mean, if there's not, that's okay too. I just was
Yeah,
curious,
I
like, if
mean,
there's
I don't
anything
know, I
since
mean, I
then. Yeah.
think it's like my job is, like, ever changing and, like, all the people I meet are so amazing, so I don't know if I necessarily say I'd add things, but I mean, obviously, it's a huge HIPAA violation here, right? So, like, I wouldn't do this, but I wish people could, like, come into these houses with me,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
not necessarily, like, these big happenings where, like, someone's always seeing their dead grandpa, right? But
Yeah.
it's, like, these cool experiences of, like, walking into a house of 2 people who are in their 90s, let's say, which not everyone on hospice is old,
Right.
but let's just say this, right? You walk into their house, they're, like, both in their 90s, they've been married for, like, 50 some years, they bought the house in the 40s, it's literally like no one's ever touched it since they bought it,
Yeah.
so, like, it's walking into a time capsule, there's pictures of their life everywhere, like, even just learning about their life as, like, a 90-some-year-old person who grew up in Mississippi and now lives in Los Angeles and had 8 kids, like, that stuff is the magical stuff. That is,
Yeah.
like, learning about people, connecting to people, that's the stuff that I wish I could give every little detail to
Yeah.
everyone. Even
Because
again, you
in
can't,
those moments
but
you realize what truly, and it sounds so cliche and so like, ugh, but it's just like what truly matters, right? It's just like that love,
yes.
that connection. Like, yes, we all love, I mean, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but most of us love material things too. It's fun, it enhances our lives, but at the end of the day, like that love, that connection, and what the impact you're making on people while you're physically here, like, has to be the most important thing when you get to the end of your life and that's all that you really have, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah, is there anything that, like, since doing this work, is there anything that scares you about dying? Do you think about your death, and is there anything that actually does scare you, or are you really just, like, at peace with the fact that it's gonna happen, and I welcome it when it does?
Yeah, so my book is called Nothing to Fear, which I do believe, like, and I don't have much fear around death. And I think it's also normal to fear. And I always say, if I got diagnosed with something terminal tomorrow, I would still have like the human experience of being like scared and
Sure.
sad and
Yeah.
angry. And I would have all of like the roller coaster of emotions, I think, throughout that whole process. But generally, I think I have a better grasp of like, okay, this is going to be okay. And this is a fact of life.
Yeah.
People die.
Yeah.
But no, I would still, so there's not one thing that, like, scares me, it's just, I just know I'm still a human, and I will still have moments of fear, and moments mostly of, like, "Oh, I don't wanna go," "No, not yet.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to go. I can't believe this is happening to me," right? I think that's a
Yeah.
common thing, happening to
Yeah.
me. I still will have all of those things. Again, if I even get to experience that, maybe I
Right.
won't. Maybe I'll who knows? I always say car accidents, that's the first thing I think
Yeah.
of, but you
Yeah.
just never know how it's gonna go down, right? And that
Yeah.
kinda scares me sometimes thinking about that. I'm definitely,
Yeah.
like, on a side note, nothing to do with hospice nursing, but just personality-wise, I, like, run a little anxious. I run a little,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
OCD, kind of, like,
Sure.
crazy thoughts of, like, worrying about my sister dying and me,
Yeah.
being murdered. I watch too much murder mystery, like, things like that, right? So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's still going on in the background. And luckily, I feel like through therapy and medication, folks,
Yeah.
I
It's a game changer.
yeah, game
Yeah.
changer,
Yeah.
and it doesn't, like, affect my life too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Did you hear, I don't know why this came to my mind when you were talking about maybe just, like, ways to die, but again, this is kind of off topic, but that story of that plane that had just crashed and the one person that survived, did you hear
No,
about that?
what?
You didn't hear about
No,
this?
tell me, tell me, tell me. When did it happen?
Recently, this was like a couple weeks ago.
Oh my god, no, I don't know. Tell
Oh
me.
my god, the flight was going from, oh, I don't wanna get the story wrong. It was I think it was on its way to London from some, I have no idea. I don't remember where it was coming from. Going to
So a
London,
big
I
ass flight,
believe.
like a big old plane.
Big plane.
Okay.
It crashed, and I think 200 something people died. There was one person that survived the plane crash. Insane, and he walked off of the flight. He just walked off. Like, he was sitting, it was all over the news because he he was sitting right by the exit door, and so when the plane crashed, I was reading an article, he just was like, "Yeah, I saw the opening, I just walked out." And I mean, he was banged up, like, the plane had just crashed, but every single person on that plane died except for him, like, his brother was on the plane, and it just insane. I'm like, "That you can't," again, it's one of those things that you just cannot explain, and I just wonder, like, for him, like, what kind of, I mean, I'm sure there's some kinda survivor's guilt, I don't know, I have not watched, like, interviews or anything really with him, but just that there's gotta be some, like, that's a miraculous, right? Like, those things don't just happen, um,
Miraculous.
but yeah, look it up,
Yeah.
it's
Did
crazy.
he say okay, we won't have to stay on this for long. I won't ask a
Yeah,
bunch of questions, but one question, did he
yeah.
talk so was he, like, alert and oriented when
Yeah.
it was crashing? Like, he knew, like, plane's going down, like, here we are gonna hit, and then he
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what his, because from my understanding, and again, I don't, like, don't quote me on this totally. I remember reading the article and I was just more like in shock.
yeah,
But if I remember correctly, I think that the plane had like taken off and then they were having issues very early on in the flight, and then it pretty soon went down. It hit a building, people in the building died as well. Um, but like the plane, like, yeah, it was like on fire. Like he just was able to just walk out, and he never had to, like, he wasn't in like, he wasn't intubated or anything. He walked out. He was able to get medical care. I don't even know what country they were in at this point, but just like a wild story of just these crazy things that like, just again, just a reminder, you can, so, so I think we in the news, we get so, you know, um like the plane crashes get headlines because it's just so many people on there, where people are dying probably at way higher rates in cars every single day.
right,
Um
mhm.
but just, yeah, you just never know, like, what's going to happen. Just kinda tying that back into how important it is to, like, live our lives every single day with, to our best ability, with that gratitude, with just remembering you just never know what's gonna happen. You're not promised to live until you're 100 years old, right?
Right, right,
Uh,
yep.
um, and so, yeah, I don't even know how we got on that topic of the plane crash, but just crazy.
Well, I didn't help you because I was like, "Tell me everything."
Oh, this was the question I was gonna ask you. So, we've talked about visioning and everything before. We can give the audience a brief kind of overview of what that means. I don't want you to feel like you have to go into detail. And like I told you before we started, I know you've talked about it a million times. But my question for you specifically was, if you were to be, on hospice in your dying days, who would you want to see? What would bring you comfort of, like, if you were
Oh my
having this visioning?
gosh. Yeah, so if I was visioning so if anyone who doesn't know this, people on hospice usually start seeing dead relatives, dead loved ones, sometimes old pets that have died. It's usually about a few weeks before death. And just to clear things up, they are not oxygen deprived. They are usually not on a bunch of medications. It's not delirium. Like as a nurse, like I would already be asking these questions as well. So I always want to clear that up. We don't know why it happens, but we do know why. But we do know that it's not happening because of those things, right? Because most people think it's like happening right before someone dies, and that's not true. It's usually about a month out. Which as a hospice nurse, you kinda clock. If someone's saying they're seeing their dead grandpa, you're like, "Okay, they'll probably die in a month." So, like,
Yeah.
you can kind of time it out. Anyway, who would I wanna see? So, if I was going to die soon, um, I would wanna see my friend Shauna who died. That would be really exciting. My friend Dawn who died, my friend Mike who died. So, a lot of friends who have, like, kind of tragically died young. I'd love to see them. I think I wasn't very close to my grandparents, but my my one grandpa who I really didn't know at all because he died, like, when I was very, very young, for some reason, I still feel very connected to him, so I'd love to see him. And my uncle Bill, who I never met, I'd love to see. Wow, I have a whole group of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But if I
Yeah.
die old,
Yeah.
If I'm, like, elderly in bed, like, in my 90s, of course, my parents, my
Yeah.
cousins, my friends, like, I want a
That would bring you the
party, baby.
comfort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody
I guess
comes. Yeah.
I wanna see a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just have you ever gone, and you don't have to answer this if it's, like, too personal, but have you ever gone to, 'cause I was trying to connect the dots on this of people, like, going to a medium. Have you ever gone to one? And visioning seems that, like, that's kinda like opening that veil, like, like, you're at this point, you have access to this other realm or whatever you wanna call it. Like, do you feel like that's just kind of a similar thing?
I always just say, like, "I have no idea." I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I never
Yeah.
wanna try to be like, "Oh, it's for sure happening because
Yeah.
of this." Generally
Yeah.
speaking, I don't know. I just know it happens.
Yeah.
And yes, I have gone to a million mediums because my friend Shauna, when I was 17, she was my best friend and she died tragically. So it was, like,
Mhm.
super friggin' horrific. I got a tramp stamp with her name.
Yeah.
Back
Love
then,
it.
it was cool. It wasn't
Yeah.
called a tramp stamp.
Just a lower
I
back
heard they're,
tattoo.
like, back in style,
Are
so
they? Yeah, look
yeah.
at you, trendy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright, can I say tramp stamp? I just realized that.
of
I don't know.
course, why not?
Okay. Lower back tattoo people. Um, anyway, so for years after she died, I went to, like, a million mediums and no one said anything that I felt it was great, it was always very vague. And then after I kind of gave up trying, 'cause it's been years now, probably about 10 years ago, um I went to a medium through a friend, and it was over the phone, and I remember thinking and it was kind of like after I had, quote, unquote, "gotten over it." Not I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, you never get over your
sure.
friend dying, but, like, it
Yeah,
wasn't, like, super fresh where I would, like, still cry about it all the time and stuff.
yeah.
And I'd gotten over, like, needing to hear from her, Her and I had these very specific nicknames that
Mhm,
we only talked to each other. She called me Butch and I called her Ralph.
mhm.
No one else really did except for us and, like, no one really knew it, right? So,
Yeah,
in my mind, when I talked to this guy, this other medium, I thought, "I'm only going to think that it's Shauna if he says my nickname."
mhm.
And, so he was talking to me for like 2 minutes, and all of a sudden he was like, "Oh my god, there's this girl here. She's, like, super excited. She is, like, jumping up and down. She's super excited to talk to you, but she's not calling you by your name. She's calling you by, like, some weird nickname.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but it's something so weird." And you could tell he was kind of, like, not wanting he just didn't understand it, right? So he was
yeah,
like, "I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like she's saying Butch. I know how weird this is, but I think she's calling you
yeah.
Butch."
And you're like,
And I
yeah,
I'm getting chills right now just
yeah,
thinking about it.
yeah, yeah,
And, like, I had felt like I didn't think it would matter that much for me to hear from her,
yeah,
but in that instant, it's honestly like 20 years of grief, like, fell off of me.
yeah,
I, like, sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. I didn't really hear anything else he was saying, and honestly, he did start saying, like, some weird stuff that I was like, "Okay." Like, by the end of it, he was like, "She's flying off with the like, he just started
yeah,
saying weird stuff.
yeah.
Either
You're like
way,
you're like, "You should have stopped there."
I know, just stop right now, that's all I
Yeah,
needed to hear.
yeah,
Either way, it was like I say all this to say, like, that was my one experience with a medium that even though he got kinda weird after, or, like, during, it was, like, the one thing I needed to hear that really validated that, like, we're still connected.
yeah.
And it really healed. It really, really, really helped my grief.
Was it like a way to, like, make you, understand that she was okay? That she was at peace? Or was it just a way for you to just feel that maybe her presence was always kinda with you?
Yeah, I think that. It was, like because it was so specific and, in my head, it was such a specific random thing that, like, only her and I would really know, and it wasn't even like I would tell other people, like, they have to say this. It was like but in that moment before the call in my head that I was like, "I need to hear him say my nickname for me to think this is,
Yeah,
like, what's going on."
yeah, and then
And
for him
no
just
one had ever done that. And then, like,
yeah,
years later, it's, like, the first thing he said. He was like, "I don't know, she's calling you some weird name. I don't really get it, blah, blah, blah." And you could tell he almost didn't wanna say it because he thought it was so strange.
yeah.
Um,
Or like, am I about to offend her? Like
I know, right? He's like,
yeah,
I don't know why she's calling you Butch. I don't know." And I'm like, you know? Um, so it just was validating. It just felt like, okay, maybe she is still around me. Maybe
yeah,
she, is still there in some sense. And just to hear from her again, it felt like that too,
Yeah.
like hearing from an old friend.
Yeah, yeah. I think what um the reason that these kinds of things don't that there's, like, a lot of controversy over these things is because it's just not tangible, right? Like, we and it's also, like, subjective, like, you're just going off what people are telling you, you can tell me or even the people who are having these, visioning experiences, it's no one else can see it, and so you're just having to believe what somebody else is saying, but you have so many examples and experience that you've seen that it's like how like this has to be and so many other people's stories too. I had watched a podcast that Oprah did with some people talking about like near death
I
experiences,
know. I saw it too.
and it's just like those are the things that I'm like this how can you not just it's there, like the evidence is there, like people are telling you what they're saying. I know that you did a video on Dr. Mary Neal and that whole experience
Oh my
is
god.
mind-boggling, right?
Mind-boggling.
um
Yeah, her I mean, when their brain is dead and they're not getting oxygen and, I mean,
She was underwater for
it
what, 20 minutes?
20 minutes?
Yeah,
20
that's
minutes, like, anyone who's any nurse listening, you can't be underwater for 20 minutes and be alive,
yeah,
like,
right,
period,
right. Which
you
had full brain function and
yeah,
remembered
I mean,
well during that time, yeah.
yeah, imagine, like I always think about if that was not me underwater, but me trying to save someone who was underwater, like, as a nurse, I'd be like, "Oh god, this is
Yeah,
not like a save her, this is like just get the dead body out of the water." Like, I wouldn't
right,
be thinking we're gonna bring them back,
right.
let alone come back and be fully recovered and have a fucking
Yeah,
a whole thing about an afterlife.
yeah,
At the end of the day, I always say, like, even envisioning, like, I don't care what it means.
yeah,
Because to me, it's like, even if it is just biological to, like,
yeah,
make us feel better, make us feel comforted, cool
yeah,
that our body is even doing that for
yeah.
us.
I would rather feel that than
Great. Like,
yeah,
how amazing that we have a body that is comforting us at the end of life. Like, if everyone's like, it's like, okay, I'll take that
yeah,
too. I'll take
yeah.
it too.
Yeah. Are you ever seeing anybody with, like, these terrible, like, terrifying visions? Like, they're seeing things that they don't wanna see, or it's like, people I know you see people or you have people who are seeing Jesus, God, angels, like, is there anybody that's ever like, "Oh my god, the devil's here to take me?"
I
Like,
have never seen
no,
that, and people
okay.
always wanna go, "Oh, it happens." I don't know. I have literally never seen it. So I've
Yeah,
definitely had people not, be seeing men in black and scary spiders and bugs and stuff, right?
yeah,
That to me is not categorized as, visioning because it's not
gotcha.
comforting. So, like, like, visioning is comforting. People who see dark men or like shadows or spiders usually have two different diagnoses. One of them's dementia or Alzheimer's, one of them's Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease, you literally can that's part of one of the symptoms is seeing oh gosh, what is it called? But basically, like, having bad visions. That's it's
Yeah.
like a part of it. You see, like, black cats and, like,
Oh,
things that are
yeah,
usually not good. They don't feel
yeah,
good. So, a lot of times I would categorize that as and usually it comes along with confusion, agitation, like, things that they're not really with it. So, to me, that is a medical issue, that is a
mhm,
side effect of a medication or a side effect of the disease, and we need to help relax them. Whereas visioning, is so much different because it's like me and you talking, and then all of a sudden, I am able to go, "Oh my gosh, it's so weird. My dead grandpa's right here and telling me I'm gonna be okay," and it's
yeah,
it's like that. It's
yeah,
nothing I've ever seen, especially in the ICU.
yeah,
Very specific, and it's not at all like, "And they're confused, and they don't know,
right.
and they're saying other things." It's, like, usually really clear
It's just like a regular person just sitting there
a lot
having
of
having this
times.
vision of seeing something, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it confuses them, like, it makes them I have a story that I always tell about a family who needed a visit and was really concerned because their dad was seeing things, and I get there, and he's, like, totally alert and oriented and being like, "No, I'm fine, blah, 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 blah," and, like, you could tell the family's kind of, like, tiptoeing around each other and just being like, "Okay, dad, thank you," and I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, you look great, I'm sure everything's okay," or whatever, and I went to go leave the room with the kids, and he grabs my arm and, like, brings me in close and is like, "Listen, everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I saw my parents last night. They said I'm not dying yet.
Yeah.
but I'm gonna die soon, and when I do die, they're gonna come get me,
Yeah.
and they think I'm crazy." And I'm like and he was kind of like, "And I think I'm crazy," and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my gosh, sir, it's okay, like, how did it make you feel? Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm super comforted, like, I don't know what that was, but I feel good about it." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Great. It's called visioning. It's really normal. It happens a lot. We don't know why. Just go with it." And he was like, "Great." I
Yeah.
leave the room and I go talk to the kids, and they're like, "Something's wrong with him. He was totally normal. Then all of a sudden he was saying he was seeing his parents, blah, 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 blah." So of course then I educate them about like it's really normal. We don't know why it happens. We don't need to medicate. And that's like what it usually is like. It's like everyone's confused about why it's happening.
Yeah.
And they want to fix it because they're like weirded out that like
Right.
someone's this is happening.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and
Like
it took me a
give 'em a
long time.
medication, make it stop, like
I know, make it
yeah.
stop, they're
Yeah.
hallucinating.
Yeah.
And I think because now that I educate about it, as a hospice nurse, I used to not because I felt embarrassed, because I was like, "Oh god, I can't believe I'm a nurse saying, like, you might see these things." But I think it's important to say so they don't get freaked out when they do, right?
Yeah.
So I say like, "Hey, this might happen. It usually happens around this time." And since I started doing that, I hear so many more stories
Okay,
because
because they wanna share
I
with
bring it
you.
up,
Yeah.
and then a lot of times they go, "Oh my god, that's already happened."
Yeah.
Or like, "Oh, okay, I thought I was, like, going crazy."
Yeah.
So now I feel
So
like
they don't feel as, like, afraid to tell you about it now that you opened that door.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes
Whereas
sense.
before I never really talked about it, so I didn't always see it that often or hear about it or no one told me or I'd only see it every once in a while. But now
Yeah.
that I've, like, brought it up, people are telling
More
me all about stuff.
they're like, "Well, how long do
I
you have?
know.
Let me tell you about all these people who have come to see me." How has since you've been a lot of my message in this podcast and what I even just post on social media is really for I want nurses to understand that and see themselves as more than just being a nurse, right? Like there's so much, we all have so many more resources, tools, so much more knowledge than we give ourselves credit for. And one of my big things is not tying so much of your identity to being a nurse, right? Like who are you if this was all taken away? If you weren't a nurse anymore, like who are you behind that without the nursing license? Because I think we get into nursing school, it becomes our identity because we are spending so much time doing it. Um, we get into the career, like it's just a huge focus for us, and it does become a part of who we are. But it's I think it's important to not get so caught up in that. And so I'm just curious, since you've been first of all, like what kind of advice would you give to somebody who has a passion that they maybe want to go forth and try pursuing that's outside of nursing, or if it's even just social media and sharing their message online, what kind of like since you've kind of stepped away to where you're not full time at the bedside all the time, how has your kind of life changed in that way? And what kind of advice or perspective could you give to somebody who's wanting to explore other avenues?
That's a friggin' good question, Colton. I'm so happy you asked it because I think it's so important. So if any nurses out there are listening, make nursing work for you.
Hmm.
I feel like right now in my life, I love nursing, which I'm so grateful for. I do actually love my job as a
Hmm.
hospice nurse working per diem. PS. So that's
Yes.
which I'm going to get
Yeah.
to in a second. But
Yeah.
make work nursing work for you. And what I mean by that is nursing cannot be your whole life. And I think if you make it your whole life, unless it's something, unless that really brings you a lot of passion, you cannot make nursing your whole life. Being a nurse is so amazing because you can tool around,
Hmm.
pick different specialties, become a travel nurse, an agency nurse, per diem nurse,
Hmm.
part-time, you can try different things. And I think if you are not happy with what you're doing or where you're at or you're getting burned out, you need to start rethinking what you want to do. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say like not being a nurse. I think that happened to me as an ICU nurse. I was like dead inside,
Yeah.
dead
Oh,
inside.
yeah.
Hated nursing.
Yeah.
Hated nursing. And I tried travel nursing, and then I went to be an agency nurse where basically they, like, put me around in different hospitals, and it's really scary, but, like, you get really good at being a nurse when you do that, so
For
do it.
sure.
If
Yeah.
you're sick if you're burnt out, do something like that, travel
Yeah.
nursing or agency nursing. And then because of that, I started seeing how I could make nursing work for me, and because I knew nursing was not my life, like, that
Yeah.
wasn't me, period.
Yeah.
And I didn't like this idea that not just nurses, but the world is supposed to work 40 hours, if not 60
Oh,
hours a week.
yeah.
I'm not here for that.
No,
Like, I've
no.
never been that girl. I've never
Yeah.
been that girl. I'm like, I'm not gonna work my life away. I'm gonna make enough money to, like, be comfortable,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful that I can even do that.
Yeah.
Um, that's it.
Mhm.
So, even before this whole Hospice Nurse Julie thing, I was a full-time hospice nurse, and I was not happy. I liked hospice nursing, but being
Yeah.
a full-time nurse, to me, is impossible to be
Yeah.
happy
Same, and
in
I
doing that. I
I
cannot do it.
100% relate to that,
I
yeah. Mm.
cannot do it. I'm like, "This is too much. I don't wanna do this. This is the"
Yeah.
like, even a job like hospice that I love, I still was like, "Nope, can't do it
Yeah.
full cannot do it full time." So, no hospice nurse Julie in my mind at all. I took a per diem position at a large conglomerate, okay, I can't say
Yeah.
where, but, like,
Yeah.
basically a
Yeah.
place that will need me all the time, okay?
Yes.
And the only requirements I had was I had to work 4 days a week, or
Mhm.
no, I'm sorry,
A
4 days a
month.
month, 4
Yeah.
days a month,
Yeah.
but I could work as often as I wanted, or I could work as often as I wanted. So what I did was some weeks I'd work 40 hours a week. Some weeks I'd work 24, some 32. Some months, if I wanted extra money, I'd be like, I'm buckling down, I'm working
Yeah.
40 hours every week. And then the next month I'd take a month off. And it's not the smartest move financially, right? Talking to my parents are
Yeah.
like, you don't have a pension, you don't have this, you don't have that. I don't care.
Right. Because
Like,
what's the point? And I think and most people don't even get to enjoy that pension in retirement,
yes.
so, oh, it's just
And,
like
like, I'll work it out. I still was making a lot of money because per diems, you make
yeah.
more money, right? I did save stuff. I did try to put money away. I was smart, like, I was smart enough about it,
Yeah.
and I live and it was so much freedom, and in that freedom, I got to do whatever the F I wanted to do. If it's go
Yeah.
to the beach, if it's go on a hike. I'm sober, so I'm in a 12-step program, so a lot of my life is revolving around that, which is beautiful. I traveled. I still had enough money to do the things I wanted to do and not make nursing my life, and that was
Yeah.
the greatest gift I ever gave myself. Because guess what? Then I wasn't stressed out and miserable, and then all of a sudden, this Hospice Nurse Julie thing came to my mind,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, I'm also
Yeah.
doing that part-time. So it's
Yeah.
like, you need to do that for yourself, and you can do it. Don't listen to every person who if I listened to my parents, God bless them,
Yeah.
love you, mom and dad, but
Yeah.
they're from a different era, right?
Yeah.
In their mind, it's like especially the place that I work per diem for, it would be a real good place to work full time, right? It
Yeah.
really is a place where I would have a pension, I would have a great 401k, I would have a great like, all these things, and I was like, "I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my own way because I cannot live this, like, whatever American lifestyle that we've been sold. I can't
Yeah.
do it, and I'm
It's
not
really
going to."
no, it gives me, like you talking about that just gives me chills because it's just what we're fed, right? And we
Yeah.
it's scary to, like, take that ownership of your life and
Yes.
especially when your parents are, and with the best intentions telling you these things to make sure you have that pension, make sure you have that retirement or whatever. And while these things are, yes, important to plan for, you're not I don't think you're saying to just willy-nilly, just blow off planning for the future, but like to just take ownership of what matters most to you, and your life will be so much more fulfilling. I'm sure you have found way more fulfillment in having that freedom, that flexibility, and not feeling that, you have to do these certain things because I think that's where a lot of us get it wrong as we, especially in nursing, we feel like we have to, work in the critical care jobs or we have to, even if we're miserable and burnt out, we just have to stick it out because this is what we signed up for. This is, and it's just like, no, I don't buy into that. And I have for a while. And it's just, it just gets to a point where I think you have to get almost to like the almost like a rock bottom point
Yes.
in the profession to be like, I almost don't care if I never do this again. Like
Yes, that's
I
exactly
need,
where I was. Yes.
yeah,
I was like I was trying to find a way out. And that's the thing too is, people are going to tell you you can't do it. People are going to say,
yeah,
"That's really expensive to buy your own health insurance. It's
yeah,
really you can't really do it." That's bullshit.
yeah,
It's bullshit because it's not as bad as you think.
yeah,
Try it. Don't be afraid to leave that specialty. Do you know how scared I was to leave the ICU to go to hospice? I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm gonna lose all of my skills. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be a nurse anymore. It's not gonna be real nursing. That's total bullshit."
Yeah.
And thank God I didn't listen to those voices in my head and listen to the outside people because the happier I became, and it's not about being happy, but the more content I became in my own life with my choices, the more my life exploded with amazing goodness beyond my wildest dreams,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Literally. So
Yeah.
take that leap. If you're listening to this and you're like, take the leap, take the leap. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew
Yeah.
I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. So it
Right.
was like I took the random travel job, even though I was super freaking scared to do a travel position. I'd
Yeah.
quit after a year of that. I signed up with an agency who was going to put me all over LA, which is scary, but it
Yeah.
was like it opened these doors to help me see like what I wanted to do,
Just, like, shake it
and
up. Yeah, just
yeah,
do
shake it
something.
up.
Yeah, yeah, even if
Exactly, you have
even if, like
to.
even if, like, what you're originally doing, to get out of whatever, terrible cycle you're in, even if that's not really what you are wanting to do long term, like, if you just once you just shake things up a little bit and you kind of get your mind out of this, like, this way of thinking of, "I have to do it this way," it loosens the grip. You're not so rigid.
Yes,
You're like, "Okay,
Colton.
I can actually change and shift things, and I'm going to be okay."
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think that it's, from our perspective, because you don't have kids, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So I think, I understand that people have barriers. I understand that people have benefits and things because they're, taking care of their families, but I just always try to remind people that there's a way. You're not locked down just because you have kids. I get it. You are responsible for financially caring for them, and it's very important, and it's a very valid point, but you're never stuck somewhere if you're willing to just, get you may have to get more creative, but there's always a way.
And you can always go back. We are
Always.
nurses.
Oh my
We are
goodness.
always needed. Like, that's the thing is I'm so freaking grateful again for my dad because initially I wasn't like sold on being a nurse, but then once I got into it, I was like, oh, this is amazing. But I didn't get into it for like the right reasons. I was just sort of
Yeah.
like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because I just feel like we will always be needed. Recession, no recession, like people
Yeah.
need nurses, right? So you can always go back to
Yeah.
the thing you were doing. And
Yeah.
also, if you ever think about being on social media, I think as long as you have something you passionately want to talk about, just show up and talk about it. That's literally all I did. I was passionate about educating about death and dying, and I think that showed through the videos, like
Yeah.
that I liked it, that I was
Yeah.
into it, that I liked talking about it.
Yeah. People
So
pick up
there
on that energy,
yeah.
that authenticity, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have something that we really get fired up talking about, turn on it and you wanna be on social media, not if you
Yeah.
don't want to,
Of
don't worry about
course.
it, but,
Of course,
if
yeah.
and you're fired up, turn on the camera and talk about it,
Of course, yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You had, I love all that, thank you. You had mentioned that you're sober. That is something that I wanted to touch on, and talk with you about because, again, I think it's something that a lot of people, and especially nurses, I think, struggle with silently. It's very shameful. People feel a lot of shame around it. So yeah, take me through your sobriety. What was it that you decided you needed to be sober? How has that journey gone for you? Yeah, just talk about it.
Yeah, it's one of, like, my greatest gifts, truly. My greatest one of my greatest gifts is being sober. I've been sober for 9 years, and I was definitely nursing and not sober. I never thankfully, I mean, never say never, but thankfully, I never got to a place where I was, drinking on the job or stealing drugs or doing anything like that, which, um, can happen. So if that is you, like, no shade. I
Mhm.
feel like that's a common thing in addiction and
Yeah.
alcoholism, but what really, for a long time, it was really hard for me to say I was an alcoholic because, like, I thought I knew other alcoholics, and other alcoholics that I knew were in and out of jail. Were getting fired from jobs because they were showing up drunk or something,
Yeah.
right? Or got
Yeah.
DUIs or all the things. And none of that stuff happened to me. None of that stuff. When I was an ICU nurse, I never even showed up. Listen to me. I'm like, I never even showed up hungover. Like, how wonderful am I? But only because I was so damn scared. I was like,
I
there's no
have,
fucking
okay?
way. I know. I probably have too. I probably have.
Yeah.
But like, I don't remember. It was different as a hospice nurse. I remember getting
Yeah.
my hospice job. I was still drinking. And I remember thinking literally, oh, I can show up hungover. I remember thinking like, I'm not going to have to worry if I'm like super fucking hungover.
Yeah.
because no one's gonna be around, no one knows.
Yeah.
I'm going in people's homes, they don't
Just
know,
yeah. It's not
maybe, I
like
don't know.
critical situations really,
Yeah, it wasn't
right?
a
Yeah.
critical
Yeah.
situation, right. Anyway, so for a long time, it was just hard for me to really reconcile that I really had a drinking problem. I kind of knew deep down because of how I drank and how I
Mhm.
thought about it,
Yeah.
but, like, I was keeping it together. So it's like, who cares, And, the older I got, I ended up quitting around 33. But the older I got, the harder it was for me to justify, like, how much I was really drinking and, like, and how, like, when I drank, something switched in my brain where it was, like, really hard to, like, just have a couple. I
Yeah.
could, but, like, who would wanna do that?
Yeah.
That's where my
Like, what's
brain
the
was. I
point?
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"What's the
Yeah.
point?"
Yeah.
So, I started, drinking I would be drinking alone in my house, like, just a couple glasses of wine, but next thing you know, it'd be like a bottle and a half or
Mhm.
sometimes 2, and then I'd wake up in the morning, have to go to work, and be super hungover, and I, like, threw up at patients' houses before, and I just started getting, like, grosser and grosser
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
and more like a private thing versus, like, a party girl thing, and
Yeah.
it just got gross, I thought.
Yeah.
So, I eventually did quit on my own where I was just sort of like, "Okay, I'm gonna take a break." Because for many years, I used to do that. I'd be like, "I'm not drinking for 30 days," and then I could do it, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Look at me, I didn't
Yeah.
drink for 30 days.
Yeah.
I'm not an alcoholic."
Yeah. Until
Um,
that 31st day, you're like, just
yeah,
like
you're like, "Hell
waiting for
yeah."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I remember once saying to my sister, this is just a side note. I remember when I was still drinking, and she doesn't really drink that much, but it was like a random Sunday, and I was like drinking my face off because it was like a Sunday fun day.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to eventually stop drinking because I had to go to work the next day, and like I didn't want to be like, but I was already super drunk. But I remember
Right.
being like, I remember saying to her very sincerely, like, drinking is not my problem. Like the fact that I have to stop drinking
Mm.
is my problem.
Mm.
If I could just drink all the time, never have to worry about stopping,
Yeah.
I'd be good. And,
Right.
like, that was, like, that's what I mean by that mindset around it, is, like, I really felt like that. I really was
Yeah.
like, that's what anyway, like, doesn't everyone think that way, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
um, the real the reason why I'm telling you this long thing is because I think people really don't understand alcoholism,
Mhm.
and that's how I was, so I like to talk about, like, the whole
Yeah, like the way you're
gamut.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I finally did stop this last time, I didn't get help. I didn't say I was an alcoholic. I just basically like, white knuckled it. Like, I gotta make my life better. Like, I can't be hungover for work. Like, I'm gonna not do this. Um, and long story short, I did that for 11 months, which was crazy. I mean, that's almost a year.
Yeah.
But in that 11 months is when I really, really hit rock bottom, is when I really, really saw the nature of what was going on with me, which was alcoholism. And I didn't really know it at the time, but like my life got so much smaller. Like I didn't know how to like go out and do things and be social without alcohol. I didn't know how to like live my life kind of without it.
Right.
In order to do that, because I wasn't going to drink, I had to make my life really small. Go to work, come home, not really go out, stay inside.
Yeah.
Dinner wasn't fun because like, we weren't drinking at dinner. I couldn't like it was like a bunch of everything I did, it was like, ugh, so I just didn't
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
And my life got really, really small and really, really sad, and I was more depressed than I ever could have imagined. I was probably closest to suicide than I ever could have imagined.
Hmm.
I remember thinking, "I'm not gonna commit suicide, but if I think this is how people feel who
Yeah.
do commit suicide."
I think yeah, I think I've maybe had those things, like, where it's like the way I would kinda think about it is, like, maybe going back to, like, the plane analogy, like, maybe sitting on a plane and just thinking, like, "Huh, wouldn't be mad if this went down." Like, those
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
passive
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, like, if I just never woke up, like, okay,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
fine. Yeah.
And, yeah, I eventually told someone, which is a whole 'nother fun story that I won't tell, but, like, it was a girl in a grocery store who we kind of knew each other, and we ended up, like, meeting in the grocery store, then going for a hike, and I was, like, explaining to her what was happening to me, and I was really, really scared because I really thought, like, this was gonna be the answer, like, quitting drinking was going to fix everything,
Yeah.
and then it fixed nothing,
Yeah.
and if anything in fact, I was
Made it
worse.
worse. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, "I guess I'm gonna drink again because like, what's the point?" That's
Right.
not the answer, that didn't fix it, you know? And I was telling it this to this girl, and she was like, "Girl, you sound like an alcoholic." And
Yeah.
I was like, "What?"
Couldn't be me.
I know.
Yeah.
First off, like, "Who are you? I barely know you." That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking. I was like, "I
Yeah.
barely know this chick.
Yeah.
Alcoholic, like, F off."
Right.
And she goes, No, 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 my mom's an alcoholic. My mom's an alcoholic. She's been sober for years. She goes to AA. Like, you sound just like her. Like, and she still goes to AA and she's been sober for 30 years. She's like, and AA is amazing, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't need to go to AA. First off,
Yeah.
what's so funny is I have like my family's like riddled with alcoholism. Now, no
Same.
one's gotten sober,
Same.
but
Yeah.
so many members of my family are alcoholics.
Yeah.
So I thought I knew what an alcoholic was, but what's so funny is I never ever learned anything about AA. All I knew was like all the ideas I had about AA, like
Yeah.
only old white men go there.
Yeah.
Um so anyway, because of that, and I was so desperate, she was like, just go there to make friends. Like, you just need people who are sober too, blah, 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 blah. So she took me to my first meeting and like nothing happened. And I just sat in the corner and didn't say anything and whatever. I was just scared. But then that opened the door to me being willing to go to my second meeting by myself the next day. I found a meeting like right down the street from me and I went.
So you're going daily at this point, or
Well, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just
okay.
sort of, like, desperate,
Yeah.
and I went to that first one, and then it was kinda got me to be like, "I guess I'll go to another one," and
Yeah.
it was, like, the next day because every day I was kinda miserable, so I was kind of like,
Yeah.
"I don't know,
Like,
I'll
why
try
not?
this."
Yeah.
And that meeting is where I, like, raised my hand and, like,
Mhm.
cried and was like, "I don't know what's happening with me,"
Yeah.
like, "I'm not an alcoholic," of course, like, "I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not but,
Yeah.
like, I don't really need this, but, like,
Yeah.
something's wrong," you know?
Yeah.
And I think just because of that action it was, like, the willingness of, like, trying to get help, because then everyone there is like, "Girl, we got you," right? Like,
Yeah.
"Here, meet us here, do this, do this, do this." And then I just started getting into it. I just started getting into the technically the 12-step program. I'm not supposed to say AA because it's supposed to be anonymous, so you're not
Yeah.
really supposed to talk about it on Preston
Yeah.
Radio, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone
Gotcha.
gets it. So, because that started long story long, the reason why I love that 12-step program so much is because it changed everything. Like,
Yeah.
I was willing to do the work people in this place were telling me to do because I was so desperate.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have kept doing it, but it started helping. It started giving me that relief. It started helping me learn how to live again. It started helping me see what I was dealing with and like treat my alcoholism, which is more than just drinking. It's
Yeah.
about thinking,
That's
my mind.
so much deeper than that. The
Yeah.
alcohol is in our minds, the
The medicine.
solution. Yeah.
Yes, the
My my
solution.
my question for this is, if somebody, and maybe I don't know if you ever thought about this, but if somebody had come to you when you were deep into your partying and drinking, if somebody had come to you, I don't know, maybe they did, but if they had and said, "Julie, I think maybe, there's a problem here," like, would you have been like, whatever, like, brush them off? Would you have taken into consideration? Or do you think it just had to be a point where you were just ready to do it? Like, you had to be ready in order to take that step?
I had to be ready, for sure.
Yeah.
If anyone of c people have definitely come up to me, not many though, because I really surrounded myself with people who were doing what I was
Like
doing, so
partying,
we
yeah.
all seem
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
no, I would never have stopped before I wanted to, like,
Yeah.
because I just didn't see the problem. I just didn't
Yeah.
see it being a problem. This was my life, like, and if you weren't on board with it, you were boring. You know,
Yeah.
my I remember being on a dating site once, when I was still drinking. And it was supposed to be like, "Say what you like to do," and I was, like, laughing, and I was okay with this, but I was like, "How can I say, like, I just go out on the weekends and party? Like, that's what
Yeah.
I do. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have hobbies," and I thought that was o and that is okay for some people, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not nothing's wrong with that.
Right.
I just knew that eventually for me, it was too much, and I couldn't really stop. It transitioned to, like, I'm not really going out on the weekends, I'm, like, drinking wine alone in my house, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think too, I used to think, "Oh, well, if I just went to therapy and got on medication and, like, fixed things, then I would drink normal, or, like, it wouldn't matter how much I drank."
Yeah.
But there's, like for me, that it's a disease. It's a there's different parts of the disease. Some of the parts are emotional, but there is a physical component where I have always known, even ever since I took my first drink really, that when I drink, something switches in my brain,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it really my main focus after that first drink is get more drinks.
Yeah.
It's not about the dinner, it's not about the conversation,
Right.
it's not about the
Like,
friends,
you're
it's
so
about
focused on that.
drinking.
Yeah.
And a great example of that is I remember, I followed Lollapalooza around in my early 20s when I was, like, really partying. We,
Yeah.
like, were really partying, right?
Yeah.
Like, alcohol, drugs, all the things, right? And that's all I did. I wasn't a nurse yet, but I remember I loved the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They were my
Mhm.
favorite band, and they were finally on, and my favorite song came on that I had been dying to see them play live, like, that's all I've been talking about, but I was in the beer line, and I didn't leave.
But you heard it and you still just stayed.
I heard
Yeah.
it from, like, far away because it was one of those venues where, like, it's like you're inside and then, like, all the other stuff,
Yeah.
like the beer and
Yeah.
everything's, like, so you could hear it, but you're not, like, there, right?
Yeah.
And I
But
did
that was
not
more
leave.
important.
It was
Yeah.
more important,
Yeah.
like, it didn't even feel weird to me. It was like, "Oh, well," but
Yeah.
looking
Oh,
back, it's like, "Oh
like,
my
I missed the
god,
moment. Yeah.
I missed
Yeah.
the moment
Yeah.
because I was so preoccupied with making sure I had enough beer."
Yeah. I think that that's where because like I said, I mean, this addiction and alcoholism runs so deep in my family on both sides. Um, and so, like, I know that I'm, like, genetically definitely to that.
Predisposed, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Um, and I think, when I reflect on my life up to this point, I think I've definitely had periods of time where it was a problem, but they were like you're saying, it was so easy to it was almost like camouflage because everybody else around me was doing it where, be it college or whatever,
Yeah.
time in my life. I mean, when I was in college, I literally had, like, 2 seizures from drinking so much, and but, like,
Yeah.
and it was a joke to everybody,
It
like,
was a
"Oh"
joke. Oh,
yeah,
yes. Yeah, it's
and, like,
funny.
look like, even my college friends to this day will still joke with me about it, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's funny, but, like, not really." Like
I
like,
know.
it's the fact that I was, like, drinking to the point of, like, because it was like I was just, like I was known to be the one to just, like, party so hard and just, like, make a fool of myself, so it was, like, funny to everybody. Um, but, yeah, I think just you sharing those kinds of things too is so helpful for people because especially in addiction and any kind of addiction, like, you feel like there's something wrong with you once you've gotten to a point of that it's happening, not I think a lot of people are in a stage of denial about it, which it sounds
Yeah,
like you were kind of at that place for a long time too, but once you
yeah,
get to that place of recognizing this is an issue, like, it's a shame spiral, so then you're so ashamed of how you're acting, what you're doing, that then you just keep going back to that thing, and it's just, like, it's so hard to get out of, and I think it's so it's interesting just to kinda see because, like you were saying, nobody, in my family has gone through that recovery process, um, and so I don't even fully understand, like, how all that works, so just, like,
mm,
hearing you kinda talk about it and how you've gotten to where you are now, I think
mm.
it's just yeah, it's important to hear, and how is now, like, when you go out then, like, with friends, like, can you go out with friends who are having, like, cocktails and you're just like, "Whatever," like, or do you just not expose yourself to that?
No, I can't. I mean, just full transparency, most people in LA now that I go out to have drinks with, we're all sober. So, like, no one's
Mhm.
really drinking.
Yeah.
But what I mostly notice when I do go out now is how normal people do drink. Like, when my sister and her friends, if we all go out, now granted, I'm 42, so we're not, like, going out like I used to, right? But
Yeah.
even if we're going to dinner or something,
Yeah.
or we go to the bar for drinks, I notice how regular people drink. Like,
Yeah.
I thought everyone was
Mhm.
drinking like me
Yeah.
until I wasn't drinking and seeing how people were drinking and see
So
now, like, oh, they really do, like, nurse a couple drinks,
and then they're good. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just like, I never did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I do back home, like, my very best friends who live in Baltimore, like, who drank like me for years, God love them. They are literally my very, very best girlfriends. I love them. They're moms and, like, they're living their best life, right?
Yeah.
And, I can still go out with them, and again, like, their drinking has shifted, like, they don't drink like, we used to, and I know if it was, like, us 3 all drinking together,
Yeah.
still, I would be the one being like, "Let's go,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Let's get shots, come on, martinis, blah, blah, blah,"
That was
and they
you.
might
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
along with it,
Yeah.
but, like, I was kind of the one, like, "Let's get this going," and
Yeah.
but I am uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable. I still could do it. It wouldn't be like I wouldn't, but, like, if everyone was around me heavily, heavily drinking like I
Yeah.
used to, I
Yeah.
would not. I would hang for, like, an hour or 2,
Yeah.
and then I'd be like, "Later."
Because at that point, it's like, why nobody's really actually here with me anyway. Like,
No, no one's really actually here.
nobody will know if I exit stage left, like, nobody will know. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but, like, the other day, I think all of us in the 12-step program, like, I have a bunch of friends, right? We're all going to get, like, super dressed and go to a rave, and and, like, that would be really fun to me
Yeah.
because we're all gonna be together. I love dressing up, I love dancing, not all the time, but, like, a rave idea would be, like, so fun to me,
Yeah.
I think, and if it's
Yeah.
not, I'll leave, but,
Yeah.
like, never in my million effing years, Colton, would I ever think I could, like, get dressed up and have fun at a rave
Without being, like, drunk. Yeah.
without,
Yeah.
first off, being on drugs,
Yeah.
but then I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
like, that's more of, like, a rave thing, but, like,
Yeah.
never in
Yeah.
a million years would I ever think I could do that, and
Yeah.
it brings me so much joy to know that I can, and to know truly how much better it is to be fully present.
Yeah. Yeah, and the things you probably
I would never
remember.
have believed me. What
Yeah.
was that?
Like, the things that you actually remember because 'cause you're actually there, and
Yeah,
then you
and,
wake
like,
up the
to
next
be
day and you don't
fully
feel like
present
death.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not trying to, like, I think I was using a lot to, like, be different, like, have it be better, like, I always thought it was gonna be better,
Yeah.
and I've just learned that, like, it really is not the case, and, like, it's just a really, really beautiful life to, like, fully show up. It
Yeah.
can be hard though too, it's, like,
Sure.
painful as well because you
Yeah.
feel all the things, but
Yeah. You can't just go grab bottle of wine or something to not deal with the feelings.
yeah, to not deal with
Um,
it.
yeah, yeah, but it's just definitely a much more effective way if you can get yourself and learn those skills to cope and to actually get through things versus just turning to it's just that it's I I always, like, say, like, it's I understand why people are, alcoholics and such because I understand that is so much easier, and I understand, like, when you're in that much pain and you all you want is the noise to stop, like, I totally understand why people do that, like, hello, who doesn't want to just, like, get
Exactly.
rid of everything that's going on in our brains?
Yes.
Um, yeah, so thank you again for sharing that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, so I was just gonna that's why to me, again, I truly want anyone who is, like, sober curious, I want them to get sober however they want to, but
Yeah,
I think that's why I needed a program to do because, I needed to treat the noise in my brain, like, earlier in the conversation, we weren't talking about alcoholism, but you said something like waking up, like, waking up in the morning like, "Oh god," I feel like that is kind of my baseline,
yeah,
as an alcoholic, I feel like alcoholism is like a disease of
mhm,
the brain,
mhm,
and I kind of, like, live this live in today, and every morning I kinda wake up alcoholic-y,
yeah,
like, restless, irritable, like, and then I do all these things throughout the day to help relieve me of that
yeah,
so I can live a full life,
yeah,
and anyway, I mean, it's just I could go on and on because it's my greatest gift. I truly believe that, like, the life I have today, the whole Hospice Nurse Julie thing, the book deal, the other things that are happening in my life is a direct result of me being sober
yeah.
and working a program, like, the program has just changed me
Yeah, yeah, I
completely.
know, it's so obvious that this is, like, something that's so, like, real to you and that
I
it's,
know, I can go on and on. Colton's like, "We gotta finish up."
no, no, I have all the time in the world. No, I really do. I think you can tell, like, it radiates off of you. I've watched your
Oh,
other
thank you.
content where you talk about it, and again, I need a better word than just it's so important, but it's just so because that's the whole point for me of why I even do anything on social media,
Yeah.
because to be quite transparent and honest, like, social media is a lot, it's exhausting, like, especially when you're doing it on your own, and it's a lot to show up, but for me, it's just to if I can just make somebody feel less alone in whatever it is, and we all have messages to put out into the world and help connect with
Yeah.
people. And yours is, through this hospice work you do, through sobriety, and through, I'm sure that there's many other things that even I haven't seen that you post that you connect with people through. And those are things, that anybody can do. Like for me, it's, like they always say, like, make, your pain your message, and, like, that you're like, being an alcoholic was, painful.
Yeah.
Getting sober was painful. For me, it's like, being not coming out till I was 24, like, those things are, like, those are painful, and how you can just if you can convey those messages to people to make them feel like they're less alone, like, being a nurse is painful, like, so, just
Yeah, being a
being able
nurse
to
is
yeah.
painful.
Oh, it's painful. The things we
Oh
go
my
through is so painful.
god, it's so painful. You need a
Yeah.
program for that.
Yes, we do. We need that's right, that's a
We
great idea.
really do. Oh my
Yes,
god, are we thinking of something here? Oh
I
my
think
god.
so, yeah. I think
Yeah,
we could brainstorm on something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
club nurse, hello.
there
You've gotten something going on here. Yeah.
period, period. So tell us, I mean, we have the book here. Tell us about the new journal that's out, where people can find it, what it is.
Yes, thanks to my amazing followers, my book, Nothing to Fear, is a New York Times bestseller.
Period.
Hey. And then
Slay.
because of that,
Yeah.
I have a journal to go along with it. It's basically like we call it a journal, Nothing to Fear journal slash workbook. To me, it's like a sister thing to go along with the book. You read the book, it's an educational book with stories involved, so it doesn't feel like a textbook, thank God, because I would die, pun intended.
Yeah. Good one.
Sorry.
I love
I
it.
can't stop. Um, but then it's kind of like, okay, well, now where should I start? Right. So the journal is a way to help you kind of navigate. I keep saying, plan the end of life, plan the end of life. Okay, what the heck does that even mean?
Yeah.
That's where the journal comes in. There's like prompts. It's broken up into 4 parts, which I love. It's like the existential stuff, the fear around it, then how to talk about it, what to say, questions to ask, and then the last part is like actual physical planning. Okay, what do I actually have to do? What are the steps I have to take? So it's like a guidebook. You don't have to have read the book to do the journal. So it's like you could do both or either or. And I just love it. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it.
And where do people get it? Is it on, like, linked to your website? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, you could get it anywhere. So, I do have a website, hospicenursejulie.com, with all of the different links. But I just want people to know that they don't have to do that. It's not like I get more money or something if they
Yeah.
go on my website, but that is an easy place to find it. But
Yeah.
you also could get it basically anywhere you get books, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Books a Million, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. No idea what Books A Million is, but sure.
I could be I don't know if that's the thing. I think it might be a thing, but either way, wherever you get books, you can get it at the library. It's also an
Mm.
audiobook.
Yeah.
The journal is out now. The journal's only been out for, I think, a couple weeks, and it's, one of the number 1 releases on Amazon, so
Really?
that's good.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
I actually, and I mean this 110%, literally every time I go, and I don't go to bookstores often, but I actually look for your book because I remember you had posted something that people, like, when people would tag you or something, that they would found your book, and so anytime I'm at, like, an airport, I'm like, "I wonder if I can see Julie's book here," but
I always
I've yet to
try for
find
airports, I never find it.
Yeah, I've not that's usually where I see books, are at the airport, and I've yet to find it at an
I
airport, but I do look.
know.
One day I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna send you the
Oh
picture.
my god, please do. If you
Yeah,
find I'll be so excited if I see
yeah.
it in an airport. Can I tell you a funny story about when my
Mm,
book was first
please.
released?
Yeah,
So, not the journal, but the book. I, because it was, like, with a bigger publishing company and stuff, and it was, like, a bigger release, I pictured it being, like, I walk into, like, any bookstore and, like, there it
yeah.
is
It's just,
displayed,
like,
you know what I
in the
mean?
spotlight, yeah.
So, which eventually okay, well, I'll get to that. But so the first day it was out, June 11th, a year ago, my boyfriend my boyfriend and I at the time went to the nearest Barnes& and Noble, and I was like, "Okay, record me." It was before I got into the bookstore, okay?
Yeah.
So he's recording me, like, opening the door, me being like, like, thinking I was gonna see this big display of my book.
They don't even have the
We
book.
open it up, I see nothing in the front table, so I'm like,
Yeah.
"No problem, like, let's keep walking." So he's recording me the whole way. Literally, like, 10 minutes later, Colton, I look at him still recording, and I go, "Just turn it off. Just turn it off."
I'm
He's like
over it.
you hear him go, "Babe, no, it's here somewhere, it's here." I'm like, "No, just turn it off, this is embarrassing." And the video has never seen the light of day, but I refuse to get rid of it because I would do eventually wanna do something with it because it's
Yeah,
so freaking funny that you see
yeah.
me trying to be like and then eventually you see my face get, like, sadder and sadder and sadder. I did eventually find it. There were 2
Okay.
books
Yeah,
in the Barnes& and Noble in a very far off corner.
yeah.
But
Well, at
then
least you
it
found
did
it.
start selling well. It did start selling well, and then I did get the ultimate, like, "Here's my book on the table," but it took a few weeks.
So is that how that works with, like, when you make it to the New York Times list? Like, did you make it there from pre-sales, or was it after the book came out?
It was pre-sales and then the first week. So it's
Oh,
like
okay.
pre-sales and then the first week, and then I think what happens is and this is me kinda just, like, talking out of turn, I don't really know, but it sounds like, my publishing company would try to get, like, places like Barnes& and Noble to carry the book, right? So they would buy a couple books or something. So
Mhm.
that's why the first day it was out, there's, like, 2 books on
In
the
the
shelf,
corner,
right?
yeah.
But then because I was a New York Times bestseller and it continues to sell pretty well, now they're more willing to have, 5 to 10 books and, like, have it
Like,
out on the stack
displayed,
in the
yeah.
beginning, being like, "New York Times bestseller," one of those things, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's so
But I
cool.
didn't know that. I just thought it was gonna be there. It was, like, very humbling,
At least you
very
weren't
humbling.
live streaming.
Yeah.
It's like, "Turn it off.
Turn
I'm
off.
done."
Fair enough.
Oh, that's awesome. That is very humbling, though.
Yeah, very humbling.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, thank you so much for this. This was a treat, as always, to chat with you. I just love the work that you're doing. I think it really is amazing, and I think that it's great for people, nurses, not nurses, whatever, to just see your journey, see the work that you're putting out, whether that's something that they would like to also, follow in your footsteps to do for themselves, or just, educate themselves if they have family members or loved ones who are in the dying process. It's so important, and it's something that needs to be talked about more. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been fun.
All right. Remember and follow at Hospice Nurse Julie everywhere.